Yuffie Kisaragi thought she could escape with the party's materia, but she was caught before she could get away. Sickened by her ingratitude, Cloud decided to deal with her once and for all. After Tifa helped him bind Yuffie's wrists and ankles, he carried her over to a nearby tree. Yuffie pleaded for her freedom, but Cloud soon tired of her voice. He had picked up something else back at the Honeybee Inn in Midgar, but hadn't had a use for it until now. He gripped her jaw tightly, forcing her mouth open and shoving a bull gag inside, strapping it securely. Cloud tied a noose and climbed the tree to tie the free end to a high branch. He leapt back down, grabbing Yuffie, even as she tried to squirm away. There was another tree nearby that had fallen, so Cloud sliced a large piece out of its trunk. He carried it over and stood it up underneath the noose. He then picked up the wriggling Yuffie and stood her on the trunk, placing the noose around her neck and tightening it. Stepping back, Cloud placed one foot against the side of the trunk. He held up the very bag Yuffie had intended to spirit away their materia with, explaining to her that this was all her doing. And if she hadn't been a kleptomaniac, she wouldn't be in this situation. Cloud began to push the trunk out from under Yuffie. Yuffie couldn't believe she was really being put to death by these people who claimed they were out to do good. Sure, she may have endangered their lives temporarily by stealing their materia, but if they had gotten this far, surely they could just find some more on their own. And she needed it more. Shouldn't such do-gooders be happy to sacrifice their possessions for the well-being of someone less fortunate? As Cloud kicked the slice of wood out from under her feet, Yuffie desperately tried to keep her feet upon it, so by the time she lost her footing, her feet were well off center, and so she was set swinging wildly. She wanted to kick, but her bound ankles made that difficult, and so her legs had to kick in unison, causing yet more swinging. The noose bit deeply into her neck, forcing her jaw shut. The bull gag made this even worse, as she could not fully close her mouth, and her throbbing tongue was trapped behind it. For a ninja wannabe, Yuffie was sadly lacking in tricks. She cursed her failure to have acquired any concealable weapons with which she could have cut herself free of this predicament. Her lungs were burning intensely, her vision flooding with red spots. She could see the rest of the party standing nearby, pointing and laughing at her. Screw the world! She hoped they all died horrible deaths for what they were doing to her. Yuffie felt herself slipping away. Cloud approached her, and for a moment she hoped he was going to cut her down. But then she felt him putting something in her pockets. He palmed off some of the party's useless materia onto her, so that she would at least be a glorified treasure chest for whoever found her later. Cloud stared directly into her eyes, a deep smirk on his face. As he turned and started walking away, Yuffie felt a final humiliation as her bladder emptied and soaked her shorts. Apart from the tremendous throbbing in her ears, she could just barely hear the uproar of laughter from the party, and even that faded away into nothing, along with every other sensation. The end. Thank fuck.